my planning process starts here in Trello. Trello is a project management system that has a free level, which I use. It also has paid levels, but I have not yet needed to upgrade. So you can see here a number of boards. You can think of these as workspaces. And they're divided by what they call teams, which can include other people in true team fashion, but they can also just be groupings of boards. So I have my personal boards here. I have one for Simple Scrapper for work things. I have a number of Simple Scrapper templates. So this is something that an average person wouldn't have. These are example boards that I've shared. I have Team Wilson, which are 2 boards that my husband and I share. And then I have boards for my work at the University of Illinois State Water Survey. And these are some of our grant projects and our podcast and all that. The examples I'll be showing here are in my Simple Scrapper and personal boards today, because that's the focus of what I want to talk about. It's how I keep everything organized in one place, and how does that translate from Trello to my physical planner in front of me. So a couple things that I want to share. Again, these are the boards, and so within a board you have lists. So let's see, which board do we want to open up here? Let's start. This is a good example because it has a lot of things. All of these columns that you see are called lists, and each list is comprised of a card, which is where you can have one task, or you can even add a checklist to add multiple tasks. So let me find a card here that has lots of tasks. So here's one called New Month Prep. This is kind of my checklist for everything I need to do towards the beginning of the month for Simple Scrapper. So you can see we have multiple checklists within this card that allow me to stay on track. And then the entire card has a due date, which you can change. Now, one of the cool new features that I haven't used, you can see here, you can actually assign a due date or a person to these individual checklist items. That is the thing that does require an upgrade, and we've talked about doing that as a Simple Scrapper team, but personally I've not found that we needed to do that yet. All right, that's a little bit of the lay of the land of Trello. Let's go back to my boards. I want to show you my Creative Hub board. So this is my personal creative hub. I kind of set this up at the beginning of 2020 of things that I wanted to work on, some personal projects. You can see I completed this task here. It was all checked off. I made this pillow for Emily. Little did I know I would have to add masks on here, which I sewed some of those as well. And I want to draw your attention to this 40 layouts card. So at the beginning of the year, it's my 40th year, I wanted to do 40 layouts. I've done 24. And so I put these in 4 categories. I've got 12 hybrid layouts here, and I've done all of those. I wanted to do 8 layouts using my silhouette. I've only done 1. I wanted to do 10 6x8 layouts, and I've not done any of those yet. And I wanted to do 10 8.5x11 additional layouts besides the hybrid ones, and I've actually done 11. So really, I've been working a lot in 8.5x11 this year. That's been kind of my heart. It's been filling me up, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. And I feel good with my progress. It's not about perfection, it's about moving forward. And if I had not set this goal, I probably would have made a lot fewer pages this year. And so I also have some personal goals of watching documentaries. You know, these things have shifted a little bit because of the pandemic. I probably would have gotten further in some areas, and certainly I have not gotten as far in others. All right, let's go back to my boards. I want to show you major content development. And this is a great example of how I use Trello to plan out into the future. So we've got our upcoming Simple Scrapper events. We've got big projects that were in the works. And then I have this long column called my idea bucket. Because of course, everyone, regardless of where you work or how you work, you have more ideas than you could ever accomplish across all spectrums of life. And so I like to keep track of my ideas, kind of rank them, even keep track of ideas that I had and discarded because those ideas always pop up again, and it's helpful to know, oh yeah, I've had that idea and I've already chosen not to do that, so I don't have to expend additional energy on it. Ideas for new Simple Scrapper YouTube videos. And so I really use Trello as that home for long-term planning. Now, the size of a project will determine whether or not it gets an entire board, it gets a whole list, it gets a single card. You can see here for our refresh retreat, we actually kind of use the same checklist every single time. We have a series of steps that we go through on my team. And we're just about, this week I need to write down our final list of challenges. We have a theme for the event. We've done some brainstorming, and now I need to jump in and finish up that work. So I hope this helps you see how Trello can just be that one place to store all different types of ideas. So if we go back to my boards, you can see I have boards for pretty much everything in my life, down to, house improvements we want to make. These are all of our house projects. If we go to master bedroom here, you can see we have 2 of those 5 items done. And I have a card for every single area of our home and all the projects that we want to do. I mean, this is a long-term thing. I set this up 5 years ago when we moved into this house, and we have checked things off over time. I actually, here we go. We've removed the rocks on this side. Landscaping east side of the house. Which side is east? This one we did. We replaced those plants, and we still need to do these other things. So I love having this as that place for those things that are way out in the future, the things that you don't think about every single day, but it gives it a home online you can easily access from the web or even from an app on your phone. You can share with others. My husband has access to this board so that we always know, what's on deck next, even if we don't revisit this topic for months at a time. All right, now how does this translate to the day-to-day? Because we have all these boards, some of them have deadlines, some of them don't. How do I know what I'm going to work on next? Well, there's 2 ways that I do that. One is this home screen, and this shows you the up next. And I like this one because it allows you to actually complete tasks directly from this. I've actually done this one, set the event dates for November. So I'm going to go ahead and press that complete. But I don't find this to be as comprehensive in terms of everything that I need to do soon. So there's another area that I go. I go to my profile picture, and then I click on cards. And so this shows me, well, let me back up. I have this sorted by due date. I'm showing this right now. I'm showing all cards from boards in Simple Scrapper, but I can also do all boards, which is so awesome. We'll go back to Simple Scrapper for now. And then I'm showing all the cards. Now, by default, it will show active versus a last period of time. And I like to show all because sometimes I set a date and I've forgotten about it, and I want to see that in these overdue cards. So we have it organized by overdue cards, due in the next day, due in the next 7 days, due next month, due later, and then all these things that we've already completed down here, as well as cards with no due date at all, but that are assigned to me. And so I find this to be the most helpful view inside of Trello to know what I need to do next. Now, sometimes some tasks don't ever get written down. I will just jump into Trello. For example, see I need to do the up next post. And this is just a post we do every single week inside the community. I will note this in Trello, and I will immediately go do it. It's not that long of a task, and so I will just jump in and get it done. If I know that I can't do it now, though, but I see this in Trello, then I'll go ahead and write it down in my planner. All right, let's go back to cards. So you can see there, it went to the board, it popped it up. It didn't allow me to complete it right from this screen. That's the only personal change that I would make, is I'd like to be able to check things off from this screen, but you can do that from that home screen that I showed you. All right, so yeah, there's a couple things I need to still do here. I need to, the send confirmation details. I've actually already done that one, so I'll go ahead and press that one complete. I left a couple things incomplete here so you guys could see how that works. And then I'm just going back to my cards. So it's from here that there's not things that I know I've already done or I can do quickly that I'm going to have to do in the next week, that's when I transition over to my planner. My planner is for what's next in the coming week, maybe a smidge next week, but it's really about what's on my plate. And I tend to visit Trello a couple times a week for this planning stage of what do I need to put in my planner, and then also for that future planning. Anytime we have new ideas, new projects we need to flesh out, I find a home for that in Trello. And I also love how easy it is. Let's go back to, we'll just go to that major content development, how easy it is to rearrange things. I can move columns back and forth. I can move cards up and down in a column or to other columns. So there's so much flexibility. So don't think if you set things up one way, you can't change it later. You can even move cards to different boards. I don't know how many times I have realized I have similar types of projects on 3 different boards, and so I consolidate them down to one. This major content development board is actually a result of having like 3 or 4 different boards. We had one for planned events, we had one for ideas, there was one for YouTube ideas, and it just made sense to really bring everything together so we can see what's all the big stuff that takes, you know, planning and multiple team members sometimes and time to work on, and we gave it a home here on this particular board. All right, we're back on that home screen here. Here's where you click boards. You can also click boards here to bring up your menu, or click boards here to see the full board list. I love how they have the backgrounds as well. It just makes it really visual and cozy. That's one of the reasons why I switched from using Asana, which I used for a long time, to Trello, because Trello was so much more visual. You can do color categories and labeling, and it's just a much happier environment, if you will. And you'll also see some of that desire translate to how I do my physical planning as well. So let's jump over there. So here we have my Hobonichi Techno Weeks Planner. I have the April start version, and I will link the other video that I've done on this before. I have loved using this with the Cocoa Daisy sticker kit. You can see I've done some memory planning here in the months. And then in the weeks, this is my ideal format. I have a podcast episode on this as well about how I love just a little bit of space on one side for appointments and what I have going on that's time sensitive. And then I want a lot of area, a lot of space to be able to write down lists in different categories. And this has been my natural planning tendency for as long as I can remember. I remember more than a decade ago when I worked in DC, I would just get a big piece of paper and I would write down the categories of projects that I have and subtasks under that. When most of it was crossed off, I would start a new sheet. And so that's clearly how my brain works. And I have found that the more you can align your planning process with how your brain works, the more likely you are going to stick to that process and have it support you rather than to mold yourself to someone else's planning process, which we know have done time and again. I have discarded so many planners that didn't quite work for me. And this one really, really does. All right. So I just set up this new week. So this is for the coming week. And you can see I have my appointments listed out by time. I have a little reminder here that's it's a time sensitive reminder, but it's not at a specific time in the day. So I added a little sticker for that. And if we just flip back to last week, you can see that I've crossed off those items. I started trying to do a little bit of like daily tracking, but you can see that didn't work so well very many weeks. It worked a little bit this week. It worked well that week, but it was just a fun place that I could do this over on the side. Maybe I'll try it again. But here then on the right side is really the meat of it. And if we go back to last week again, you can see everything that's highlighted and crossed off are things that are done. And then the things that aren't highlighted, I haven't done. They have an arrow here. They've been forwarded to a new week. And then we have 2 items here, which is this video that I'm working on for you today to get ready for the planning party. Those are the things that I'm still working on today on Sunday. So this is for this coming week. And I just set this up. And so we have my main categories. Right now I have Simple Scrapper, Water Survey, home and PTA, depending what we have going on. Sometimes I will give Girl Scouts its own category. Sometimes I will give personal scrapbooking its own category, but that tends to either fall under home or simple scrapper, depending on what I'm working on. Right now, I'm really focused on decluttering the guest room and trying to do that at least an hour a week. And so I don't really, that's my priority. So I don't have a need for an additional scrapbooking category right now or crafting in general. And so I sat down, I transferred a few tasks from last week over to here. I wrote down things that came to mind really quickly. For example, every time I record a podcast, I need to send a prep email. So there were things that I knew needed to be done, things I do every week or things that had kind of come up. I think I have a note. Oh yeah, here's something I need to redeem my Old Navy Super Cash. I will add a few notes in the future if I know there's something that I'm not going to need to do now, but I need to do in the future. That's like a one-time task. And now is when I would go and reference Trello. So if I go back to my cards here, I need to make sure that everything that's due soon, overdue or due soon, is on my list. So I need to create that graphic. I need to create and post the discussion guide, which I have here, Guide for October book. I need to do my up next post. As I mentioned, oftentimes I will just go and do that, but I'm going to write that down because I'm going to do that tomorrow morning. And then if we open up this new month prep card here, the thing I need to do next is that Your Way workshop reminder, because I have that on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So I'll just do YWW email to remind everyone to come to the free workshop. And then the other things will get done later. So what I'll do in this case is once I do that task, I will change the due date to the next time I need to do something on this list. I tend to do a lot of it right at the end of the previous month, and then I kind of do the rest of it at the beginning of the next month. And I'll just adjust the due date as I go. All right, so those were the things I needed to add, and that's how I go from Trello back to my planner. If there were more things, let's actually check again. That was just simple scrapper. So if I do this across all boards, I'm sure I have some additional tasks. Okay, yep, so we have here, I need to do the podcast website. That's a little bit overdue. You can see there it was from June 30th. So I'm actually going to change the due date on that one to, let's do end of this month. We want to make sure we work on that website. And I'm going to go ahead and put this task for next week because I know I don't have time to work on it this week. So put podcast website there. All right, let's go back to cards. All right, the only other thing here was October refresh. I need to do that. We already talked about this card briefly. Create list of challenges. Is that on here? It is not on here yet. It has a deadline of Friday. So I'm going to do outline. Refresh. Challenges. All right. So I think I'm all square with Trello now. Now, when I have something that I'm going to do, I will actually go and highlight it so I know it's the next thing. So I have my podcast interview with Audrey tomorrow, and so the prep email is actually the next thing that I need to do. And when I'm done with that, I will cross it off. Now, if you're like me, you may see this list, get overwhelmed, and it's hard to focus on, okay, what is the very next action that I need to take? And that's why I highlight that next item so that I can focus on that, do it, cross it off, and then move on to, okay, what is the next item? It's a way that I filter down from this big list. This is, my big week list to know, okay, what do I work on now? And I found that has been so helpful over the years to really helping me stay focused, moving forward, and not feeling intimidated by my list. going back to the whole Trello scheme and all of my boards here, it's this combination of tools, both the planner that I only really see a week at a time, and knowing that everything is also here in Trello, that's what makes me feel productive and not overwhelmed by all the things that I'm going to need to do, well into the future. We have a lot of plans for 2021 already, but those aren't things I need to do now. I have a home for them in Trello, and I have right here in front of me what I need to do now. All right, I hope that was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. I can't wait to hear about your planning process, and I hope you enjoy the 2021 planning party. Take care.